Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most beloved, worshipable Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta, Om Vishnu Pad, Paramahansa, Asto Tarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, and the same unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta, Om Vishnu Pad, Paramahansa, Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak, Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya Lila Pravishta, Om Vishnu Pad, Paramahansa, Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. My Dandavat pranams to all of my Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, and especially to the author of Sri Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, Jai Sri Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur. My Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas, and my Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavis and all the devotees throughout the world at this most glorious time, the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Gaur Purnima. So we've come to the final day of the Navadvip Parikrama. And so now the Parikrama is more or less finished, but now in completing this Parikrama, Srila Jiva Goswami is asking a couple of very important Siddhantic questions. And if there's any need for any chairs, looks like we're probably going to need a few more chairs, so we can take a couple of those out of my room. Yeah, if you need. And also, at this point now, is describing, because yesterday we read how the four Vaishnava Acharyas, each one of them individually came to Sri Navadvip Dham, some of them hundreds of years apart, but each and every one of them was able to receive the darshan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadvip Dham. And of course, this is quite an amazing thing, because all throughout this parikrama, Sri Nityananda Prabhu has been talking about how even throughout the yugas, so many different personalities were able to get Mahaprabhu's darshan, being in Navadvip Dham. So how special is just to be there in Navadvip Dham, regardless of the time, the yuga, anything. And so now is being described by Sri Nityananda Prabhu that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is accepting two essential conceptions from each of the four Vaishnava Sampradayas. That's very interesting, especially if you study, which I still have yet to do, but if you study the different commentaries, Vishishta, Dvaita, 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 like this, of the four Acharyas, and the specialities and the emphasis in each one of them. But this makes it quite simple, that Mahaprabhu accepted each one of these four Vaishnavacharyas. He appeared to them, and he also forbade them to tell anything about him until later on, when it will automatically be revealed after Mahaprabhu's departure from this world. And they followed that instruction, and they all preached in their own areas, and also they preached particular moods, like Dasiras and so forth, even though internally they were relishing the moods that Mahaprabhu was giving in seed form in their hearts. And then they also were able to take birth in Mahaprabhu's Leela and to witness his pastimes. So all these benedictions. So now we're going to read how two essential items were accepted, different conceptions from each of the four Vaishnava Sampradayas. So this is actually Mahaprabhu speaking. And he's speaking to Nimbaditya. So he said, "When I appear, I will inaugurate the congregational chanting of the holy name, Sankirtan, and at that time I myself will preach the essence of your philosophy of Dvaita Advaita. O great personality, from the Madhva Sampradaya, I will accept two essential principles: the refutation of Kevala Dvaita, exclusive monism, that's the first, and service to Sri Krishna's deity form, having accepted this form as eternal." Then, from the Ramanuja Sampradaya, from Sri Ramanuja, I will accept exclusive devotion, Ananya Bhakti, from Ramanuja, and service to the devotees, Vaishnava Seva. Ananya Bhakti, Bhakata Jan Seva Ar. From Sri Vishnu Swami, I will accept the sentiment that Bhagavan Sri Krishna alone is my everything. Means Tadiya Sarvasva Bhav. You are everything. You are my Tadiya Sarvasva Bhav. And the other is the path of spontaneous devotion, Rag Marg. That's from Vishnu Swami. Then, from Nimbaditya, from your Sampradaya, I will accept two supremely essential principles. First, Ekanta Radhika Ashray. Yes. Exclusively taking shelter of the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika. Ekanta Radhika Ashray. And the sentiments of the gopis. Gopi Bhav. Gopi Bhav Ar. So, speaking thus, Sri Gaurachandra disappeared. Sri Nimbaditya began to weep, intoxicated by praying. To thoroughly follow Srimad Mahaprabhu's instructions, Sri Nimbaditya first offered his obeisances to his guru's lotus feet. His four gurus. Chatursanga. And he then left for another place to disseminate Krishna Bhakti. From afar, Sri Nityananda Prabhu showed the place called Ram Tirtha to Sri Jiva. In that place, Sri Baladev Prabhu killed the demon called Kola. And thereafter, he bathed together with all of the Yadavas in the Ganga. Today, this place is famous by the name Rukmapura. This place is situated on the border or the perimeter of Sri Navadvip Parikrama. It is especially glorious to stay at this place during the month of Kartik. The next place is Bharadvaj Tila. After leaving Bilva Paksha, Sri Nityananda Prabhu and all the devotees arrived at the village called Bharadvaj Tila. Sri Nityananda Prabhu said, once Sri Bharadvaj Muni came to this place after visiting the holy place named Sri Ganga Sagar. Sri Bharadvaj Muni resided here for a long time, worshipping Sri Gaurachandra. Being pleased by his worship, Sri Vishwambara mercifully gave his darshan to Bharadvaj Muni and said, "Your desire will certainly be fulfilled. At the time of my manifest pastimes, you will attain darshan of me." Saying this, Sriman Mahaprabhu disappeared and Bharadvaj Muni fell unconscious, overwhelmed by great prema. After residing on this hillock for a long time, Sri Bharadvaj Muni left to visit other holy places. Today, people call this place Barui Danga. According to the scriptures, it is an eminent holy place. Can we have the kids be a bit more quiet? Now, while speaking and hearing of these topics, they all followed Ishan Thakur and arrived in Mayapur. Now they've come back. Sri Nityananda Prabhu was dancing, overwhelmed with prema, and all the Vaishnavas were performing kirtan together. Sri Jagannath Mishra's house, Yog Peeth, is the essence of all other holy abodes, because Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu appeared here along with the holy name. That day, in the house of Sriman Mahaprabhu, Sri Sachi Mata served all the Vaishnavas prasad with her own hands. It is not possible to describe the joy that was experienced at that place. Everyone was chanting the holy names of the Lord in that grand festival. Bhakti Vinod is singing of the pastimes of Nadia in the hope of attaining the cooling shade of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Janava Devi's lotus feet. Thus ends chapter 16. Next chapter is titled Sri Nityananda Prabhu Answers the Questions of Sri Jiva Goswami. Jai Jai Gaurachanda, Jai Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Gadadhar, Prem Ras Ananda, Jaya Jaya Srivasadi Bhakta, Navadvip Jai, Jai Nam Sankirtan Premera Niloy. All glories to Sri Gaurachandra, all glories to Sri Nityananda Prabhu, all glories to Sri Advaita Charya Prabhu, all glories to Sri Gadadhar Pandit, all glories to the bliss of Prem Ras, all glories to Srivas and the other devotees, all glories to Sri Navadvip Dham, all glories to Sri Nam Sankirtan, the storehouse of Prem. Early the next morning, Sri Nityananda Prabhu was gracefully present in Srivas Angam. Streams of tears flowed from his eyes as he was carried away by Gaur Prem. Countless Vaishnavas and virtuous persons surrounded Sri Nityananda Prabhu on all sides, and they also were deeply immersed in the ocean of Sri Gaur Prem. At that moment, Sri Jiva Goswami, who was intoxicated by prema for the divine couple, arrived there. After offering his prostrated obeisances at Sri Nityananda Prabhu's lotus feet, Sri Jiva began to roll in the dust of Srivas Angam. Sri Nityananda Prabhu tried his utmost to check his emotions and asked Sri Jiva, "In how many days from now will you go to Sri Vrindavan?" Then Sri Jiva said, "The Lord's order is paramount. I will depart for Vrindavan whenever you order me to go." "O Lord, before I go, I want to ask you some questions. Please give answers to these inquiries for the welfare of your servant." this Sri Navadvip Dham is identical to Sri Vrindavan Dham. Why then make the effort to go to Vrindavan? You understand? Because if they're identical abodes, I'm already here in Braj, I'm in Navadvip. So why should I make an effort then to go to Vrindavan? Interesting question. So after hearing Sri Jiva's question, Sri Nityananda Prabhu replied as follows. This is a most abstruse matter. So listen attentively.
Abstruse. What does abstruse mean?
Abstruse, it means very esoteric and hard to understand.
Okay, yes.
The opposite of obtruse?
All right.
Willy-nilly.
Please listen attentively. Please remember that as long as Srimad Mahaprabhu's pastimes remain manifest, no one who is averse to the Lord should come to know of this topic. Sri Navadvip and Sri Vrindavan are one identical truth. There is no question of either of them being superior or inferior to each other. Although Sri Vrindavan Dham is the storehouse of rasa, it is impossible for someone who is unqualified to attain it. Therefore, that very Sri Vrindavan Dham bestows qualification to taste rasa upon the living entities by manifesting as Navadvip. Sri Radha Krishna's pastimes are the essence of all rasas, and therefore no one can quickly attain qualification to enter them. By performing austerities for many lifetimes, one will obtain knowledge of philosophical truths, tattva gyan. When this knowledge ripens, a desire manifests to know about rasa. Even though this is the case, there are many kinds of obstacles at every moment in obtaining it. Therefore, it is difficult to obtain the great wealth of rasa. No one will obtain that rasa just by going to Braj. Because of one's offenses, rasa becomes tasteless, vi-rasa. In this terrible Kali Yuga, the living entities are always engulfed by offenses. Furthermore, their life lasts for a few days only and is filled with many kinds of troubles. It is impossible to obtain Braj Ras even if one wants it. Therefore, Krishna's mercy is the sole cause of obtaining it. Therefore, in order to bestow mercy upon the living entities, Sri Radha Krishna have appeared in their combined form of Sri Gaur Hari from Mother Sachi's womb. They, along with Sri Vrindavan Dham, have appeared in this very Navadvip. Sri Navadvip Dham ki. In order to give qualification to the jivas to taste rasa, Sri Gaur Hari provides such a path where offenses cannot create any kind of obstacle. By taking shelter of the holy name and by residing in Sri Navadvip Dham, qualification for rasa appears and all kinds of offenses are removed. Within a short time, Sri Krishna praying will manifest within the sadhak's heart, and a strong longing to understand the loving mellows, rasa, of Sri Radha Krishna will awaken there. In this way, by obtaining the mercy of Sri Gaur Hari, the living entity attains Sri Vrindavan, the abode of Jugal Kishore's pastimes. This is a most confidential truth. Therefore, do not instruct anyone on this matter. There cannot be any difference whatsoever between Sri Navadvip and Sri Vrindavan. This has now been clarified. Although Vrindavan is present in this Navadvip Dham, you have now the qualification to take shelter of the pastime place of Sri Radha Krishna, Sri Vrindavan. Therefore, Sri Brajadam is now your shelter. O son of Ballabha, the duty of a human being is to obtain qualification for Braj Ras by first taking shelter of Sri Navadvip Dham. And having obtained Braj Ras, one should reside in Sri Vrindavan Dham, because there the living beings attain the delight of rasa. That's called rasera ullas. Ullas. Yeah? So when any virtuous person obtains the mercy of Sri Navadvip Dham, it is very easy for him to attain Sri Vrindavan Dham. Hearing all of these deep and confidential philosophical truths from the mouth of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Jiva Goswami, full of supreme happiness, caught his divine lotus feet and said, O Lord, O you who know the essence of all essential truths, I have one more question. Although many people live here in Sri Navadvip, why do not all of them engage in loving devotion to Sri Krishna? A great doubt has arisen in my mind. Although these people reside in a dham, especially in Sri Navadvip, how can offenses remain in them? How then can the servants of Vishnu, the Vaishnavas, remain without worries about committing offenses? O abode of the entire universe, O you who are eternally untainted, please reconcile this. Nitai Janava Padachaya Ash Jar Se Bhakti Vinod Kohe Akinchanachar. The lowly and destitute Bhakti Vinod is singing of the glories of Sri Navadvip Dham with the hope of attaining the cooling shade of the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Janava Devi. Thus ends chapter 17. The last chapter, chapter 18. Jai Jai Shri Gauranga Sachiranandan, Jai Padmavati Sutta Janava Jivan, Jai Sitapati Jai Jai Gadadhar, Jai Srivasadi Jata Gaur Parikar. After hearing Sri Jiva Goswami's question, Sri Nityananda Prabhu instructed the assembly of the Vaishnavas in profound tattva, fundamental spiritual truths. O Jiva, please listen. The unlimitedly blissful Sri Vrindavan and Sri Navadvip Dham are the resting place for all the living entities. The pure souls who are beyond the influence of material nature, they eternally reside here as Sri Krishna's associates. This Dham is eternal, pure, and transcendental. Material place and time have no influence here. The land, the time, and everything else in this Dham are full of spiritual bliss, Chidanandamoy. The nature, the dharma of this place is eternally transcendental. The houses, rivers, streams, forests, and pastime places here are all spiritual and supremely captivating. This bliss-filled Dham is above mundane nature. The potency of Sri Krishna that operates here is inconceivable and supremely munificent. Knowing Sri Krishna's desire to deliver the living entities, this inconceivable potency manifests the Dham in this world. Material objects cannot exist in the Dham, nor can conditioned living beings enter it. Jaramaya, or the material energy, Jara, it's called Jara Maya. The material energy always keeps the Dham covered with her illusion. That person who has no relationship with Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is blind. That is, he is ignorant of the real truth. He resides only on the covering of the Dham that Maya has cast. Although he thinks, I am residing in Sri Navadvip Dham. In reality, Prodha Maya bewilders him and keeps him far away from the Dham. That's why you can't just buy a plane ticket to get there. If by some good fortune such a person gets the association of saintly persons, he attains his relationship with Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. O son of Balabha, Sri Jiva, Sambandha Gyan is a most profound truth. A conditioned soul cannot easily understand the supreme wealth of Sambandha, relationship with the Lord. Although many people say, Sri Krishna Chaitanya is my only Lord, but their hearts are devoid of even a smell of Sambandha Gyan. They are always carried away by delusion, Maya. Because such persons are situated within Maya's covering, they can never attain Shuddha Bhakti to the Supreme Lord Sri Hari. Nevertheless, due to false pride alone, they, the pseudo-religionists, the impostors, hypocrites, and people devoid of humility, they consider themselves superior to all others. Only by the mercy of sadhus can such a person give up his false pride, consider himself to be more insignificant than a blade of grass, and become more tolerant than a tree. He has absolutely no desire for his own honor and fame, and he becomes most expert in giving all honor to others. When one has these four good qualities, one always chants the glories of Sri Krishna. Having attained this state, then only does one's eternal relationship with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awaken. The jiva has a relationship with Sri Krishna in one of the 5 kinds of rasa: Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. By worshipping Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu in the modes of Shanta and Dasya, devotees attain a relationship with Sri Krishna in Vatsalya and other mellows. Now comes the constitutional form, Swarupa, of the jiva. That's what the title is of this section. The eternally perfected relationship that the jiva has with the Supreme Lord will awaken within the jiva on the strength of his bhajan. Tahara bhajane se bhavera prabhav. Those wretched jivas who see a difference between Sri Gaur Hari and Sri Krishna, they can never attain a relationship with Sri Krishna. That living entity, however, in whom good qualities such as humility have arisen, Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga, Radha Govinda Ki Jai. That living entity, however, in whom good qualities such as humility have arisen as a result of the association of saintly persons, they worship Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu in Dasya Ras. Dasya Ras is the highest mood in which Sri Gauranga can be worshipped. Because of the predominance of this Dasya Ras, the devotee of Sri Gauranga calls him Mahaprabhu. What does Mahaprabhu mean? That's Dasya Ras. He is my master. Even Advaitacharya, he's dancing and saying, Gauram Gera Das, Gauram Gera Das, Ami Gauram Gera Daser Das. He's completely absorbed in the mood of Dasya. Even Nityananda Prabhu. Outwardly, they have that mood toward Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So, Dasya, so we just read that. Dasya Ras is the highest mood in which Gauranga can be worshipped. Because of the predominance of Dasya Ras, the devotee of Sri Gauranga calls him Mahaprabhu. Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu is the combined form of Sri Radha and Krishna. This united form is naturally not appreciated in their jugal vilas or their amorous pastimes. Which united form? The united form of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So, since that, I'm reading that again so we can catch this. Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu is the combined form of Sri Radha and Krishna. This united form is naturally not appreciated in their jugal vilas, their amorous pastimes. Therefore, for this purpose, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu assumes two forms. When the jiva's mood of servitorship, dasya bhav, reaches its fully matured stage by constant worship of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Madhur Rasa itself will manifest in his heart. When what reaches its mature stage? Dasya, the mood of dasya. At that time, the object of worship, Sri Gaur Hari, appears in Braj as Sri Radha Krishna and drowns the devotee in the nectar of their eternal pastimes. The jiva then attains Braja, the eternal pastime ground of Sri Radha Krishna. A person who is blind in regard to transcendental subject matters cannot see the profound relationship between Navadvip and Braj. In other words, he is not able to understand how Navadvip and Braj manifest in two forms, even though they are one. O Jiva, know for certain that the relationship between Sri Krishna and Sri Gaura is indeed of the same kind. In other words, even though they are one, they manifest in two forms. Sri Gaur Hari appears as the youthful couple, Sri Radha Krishna, in Madhur Ras. O son of Ballabha, within a very short time, Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan will explain all these fundamental truths to you. Sriman Mahaprabhu has bestowed upon you the qualification to reside in Sri Dham Vrindavan. Therefore, O Jiva, do not delay your journey to Braja a moment longer. Saying this, Sri Nityananda Prabhu placed his lotus foot on the head of Sri Jiva and empowered him. And being intoxicated in Mahaprem, Sri Jiva Goswami lay unconscious at Sri Nityananda Prabhu's lotus feet for quite some time. When he regained consciousness, Sri Jiva began to roll in the dust of Srivas Angan. Transformations of spiritual ecstasy, sattvic vikar, beautified his body. Sri Jiva wept, and he began to speak. Oh, because of my misfortune, I could not behold with these eyes the pastimes that Sriman Mahaprabhu performed in Nadia. Sri Gaur Hari performed pastimes only to deliver the jivas of this world. But my days are passing in vain because I cannot behold these pastimes. When they heard that Sri Jiva will go to Braja, many virtuous sadhu mahatmas arrived at Srivasangan. The elder Vaishnavas gave their blessings to Sri Jiva, and those Vaishnavas who were junior to him begged for his merciful blessings. Sri Jiva folded his palms and prayed to all those Vaishnavas, kindly ignore all my offenses. All of you are servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and gurus of the world. O wish-fulfilling trees, O Vaishnavas who fulfill all kinds of desires, please show this insignificant jiva such mercy that I may be attracted to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that life after life, Sri Nityananda Prabhu may be my Lord. Already in my childhood, I gave up my family and home. I know no one but you as my only friends. It is impossible to attain Sri Krishna without the mercy of the Vaishnavas. Therefore, O brothers, please, all of you, give me the dust of your feet. And saying this, Sri Jiva offered his obeisances at everyone's feet and offered them prayers. With the permission of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he went to the house of Sri Jagannath Mishra, fell at the lotus feet of Mother Sachi, asking with an anxious heart for her permission to go to Braj. Sri Shachi Devi gave Sri Jiva the dust of her divine feet, bestowed upon him her blessings, and bade him farewell. Considering the Lord's order to be his everything, Sri Jiva crossed the Bhagavati Bhagirati weeping and calling out, "O Gauranga, O Gauranga." And after proceeding on a little further, Sri Jiva Goswami crossed the border of the endlessly glorious Sri Navadvip. Sri Jiva offered his prostrated obeisances to Sri Navadvip Dham from that place, and then he set out toward Sri Vrindavan. At that time, Braj Dham, Yamuna, and Sri Rupa Sanatan manifested in Sri Jiva's heart. Along the way, he received audience of Sri Gaur Hari in a dream, in which the Lord said, "Go to Mathura. Rup Sanatan and you are extremely dear to me. All of you work together to manifest the scriptures on bhakti. May the service to my form as Sri Radha Krishna be your life and soul, and may you continuously behold the pastimes of Braja." Upon seeing the dream, Sri Jiva became supremely blissful, and he began to walk swiftly toward Braj Dham. It is impossible to describe Sri Jiva Goswami's various activities after he arrived in Braja. Later on, a fortunate person will describe these activities, and all saintly personalities will blissfully hear of them. Although he is not a receptacle of the Supreme Lord's mercy, Bhakti Vinod, whose intelligence is wretched, has described Sri Dham Parikrama. My only prayer at the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas is this: may they bestow upon me such mercy that my relationship with Sri Gaur Hari will be established. This is Bhakti Vinod Thakur praying. My only desire is that my relationship with Sri Gaur Hari be quickly established, and that following this, I may reside in Navadvip. How will a person like me, who is devoid of the Vaishnava's mercy, having fallen like an insect into the pitfall of material desires, and who is depraved, devoid of bhakti, engrossed in lust, maddened by anger, and a slave of Maya, ever attain a relationship with Sri Gaura? If Sri Navadvip Dham is kind to me and appears in my heart, then only can I be delivered. I have faith that only the sincere mercy of Kula Devi, Prodamaya, will deliver me from this dangerous ignorance. May the protector of the Dham, Vridha Shiva, be merciful to me, so that the transcendental Dham becomes perceptible to me. O devotees of Sri Gaura, residing in Sri Navadvip, please place your lotus feet upon the head of this most vile person. All of you, please hear this prayer of mine, so that I may quickly attain the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although I am lowly and insignificant, I have described Sri Navadvip Dham only on the order of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Janava Devi. This book is filled with the names of Sri Navadvip, Sri Gaura, and Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Therefore, without doubt, it is completely pure and can never be blamed if there are any mistakes in its compilation. By reading this scripture, the devotees of Sri Gaur Hari will acquire the real fruit of parikrama. It is the verdict of the scriptures that by deliberating on this book, at the time of doing parikrama, the benefit one receives increases 100-fold. That's why they read on Navadvip Parikrama in each place. Nitai Janava Padachai Ashajar Nadia Mahatmya Gai Deen Heen Char. The lowly, destitute, and wretched Bhakti Vinod sings the glories of Sri Nadia in the hope of obtaining the cooling shade of the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Janava Devi. Thus ends chapter 18. And thus ends Shri Navadvip Dham Mahatmya Ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Dham Mahatmya Ki Jai. Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Nityananda Mahajana Ki Jai. Srila Jiva Goswami Pada Ki Jai. Shri Srivas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Ishan Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Vamshi Vadanananda Ki Jai. Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur has composed a song. It's called Sri Nagar Kirtan. This song is included now at the end. And then there's the other song about Nitai and Nimai coming from their parikrama and coming back home. So I want to read this song. This is the song Boro Sukher Kabar Gai. And this is about Surabhikund and Nityananda Prabhu opening the marketplace of the holy name. Boro Sukher Kabar Gai, Boro Sukher Kabar Gai. Surabhikund jete namer hata kuleche kodanitai. I am announcing to everyone the news of the most sublime happiness. Sri Nityananda Prabhu himself has opened a marketplace of the holy name in Surabhikunja. Boro majar katatai, Boro majar katatai. Shraddha mulye shuddhanam, Shriha tete bikai. It is a matter of even greater happiness that he is selling the holy name merely for the price of one's faith. Where is he selling it? In Surabhikunj, in the marketplace of the holy name. Jata Bhakta Vrindabasi, Jata Bhakta Vrindabasi, Adhikari Deke Nam Bechache Darakasi. He, Nityananda Prabhu, is looking at the qualification of each devotee within the crowds entering that marketplace, and he is adjusting the price of the holy name accordingly. Jadinam kinbe bai, Jadinam kinbe bai, Amar sange chalo mahajanir kache jai. Oh brother, if you desire to purchase the holy name, then come with me, and I will take you to this great personality, Sri Nityananda Mahajan. Tumi kinbe Krishna nam, Tumi kinbe Krishna nam, Dasturi laibo ami purna habe kam. If you want to purchase the name of Krishna, I will take a commission. Bhakti Vinod is saying, I'll take a commission. And by that, my longing also will be fulfilled. I will also be delivered. Boro Doyal Nityananda, Boro Doyal Nityananda, Shraddha Matra Loi Den Parama Ananda. Shri Nityananda Prabhu is Boro Doyal, extraordinarily merciful. And upon accepting only someone's faith as payment, he gives that person the topmost bliss of praying. Ek bar dekle chakshe jal, Ek bar dekle chakshe jal, Gaur bole nitai den sakala sambal. If even once he sees tears flowing from someone's eyes, he chants the name of Gaura, and gives that person the entire wealth of praying. Dena Shuddha Krishna Siksha, Dena Shuddha Krishna Siksha, Jati Dhan Vidya Bal Na Kore Apeksha. He does not consider a person's caste, wealth, power of knowledge, vigor, and so forth, but he bestows upon him a pure understanding of Krishna. Shuddha Krishna Siksha. Amani chare maya jal, amani chare maya jal, grihe take, vane take, na take janjal. By receiving this knowledge, the snare of illusion immediately goes away. And whether a person lives at home or in the forest, nothing will trouble him. Arnaiko kalir bhai, arnaiko kalir bhai, achandale dena nam nitai doyamoy. One does not even have to fear the age of Kali. Sri Nityananda Prabhu gives the holy name to everyone, even to the lowest among men, and thus he delivers them. Bhakti Vinod Daki Kai, Bhakti Vinod Daki Kai, Nitai Chander Charana Bina Arnahi Ashrai. Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur calls out to everyone saying, I have no other shelter than the divine feet of the most merciful Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Gaur Premanandi. So this beautiful little song, I'm ending with this. Nagara Brahmya Amar Gora. If you have a songbook, you can just sing along. How does that tune go? Okay. Sing. Mar Gor Elo Gare Nagara Brahmiya Amar Gor Elo Gare Gor Elo Gare Amar Nitai Elo Gare Gor Elo Gare Amar Nitai Elo Gare. After roaming through Sri Navadvip Dham, my Gora and my Nitai returned home. What page is it?
172.
172. Papi tapi udhar diya, Gaur elo gare. Papi tapi udhar diya, Gaur elo gare. Papi tapi udhar diya, Nitai elo gare. Papi tapi udhar diya, Nitai elo gare. My Gaur Nitai delivered the suffering sinners, and then he returned home. Nama prema bilaya, Gaur elo gare. Nam prema bilaya, Gaur elo gare. Nam prema bilaya, Nitai elo gare. Nam prema bilaya, Nitai elo gare. Gaur and Nitai distributed prema through the holy name and then returned home. Dula jari sachi mata Gaur khole khare. Dula jari sachi mata Gaur khole khare. Dula jari Padmavati Nitai khole khare. Dula jari Padmavati Nitai khole khare. Mother Shachi removed the dust of Gaura's body and took him on her lap. Similarly, Padmavati removed the dust from Nitai's body and took him in her lap. Gaur Premanandi. All glories to Sri Navadvip Parikrama Ki Jai. All glories to Antardvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. All glories to Sachi Mata Jagannath Mishra Ki Jai. All glories to all the Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. So in my appreciation to all the Vaishnavas who have attended this, I think about 8 days of discussion of Navadvip, the glories of Navadvip Dham, and came along on the parikrama, even those who came through the Facebook portal, but they came. Yes, I'm not forgetting that. That's why we have the camera here all the time. And so this was a very successful, I think, because there were so many appreciative devotees who relished and tasted the words of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we cannot forget this, and we should aspire that in this body, in this life, we will go there and do Navadvip Dham Parikrama. No matter what it takes. And even if it takes leaving this body before doing that, and then doing it in the next life, we have to do it. Because Navadvip Dham is the supreme abode of mercy. So all glories to the assembled devotees. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.